Hello, everybody, and welcome to Table Talk RPG, the show where we sit around and talk about, well, all things RPG and just about anything else that comes to our mind. I
If it
am Rill.
requires dice, playing cards, paper, a pencil, we got you covered.
And with that, my name is Rillian,
I'm Papa Zaf.
and we are both two dungeon masters, game masters, or narrators, depending on the system we're playing, that like to do just about anything, like he said, with dice, note cards, beer.
Yeah. Your imagination.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So tonight's main topic we've got is love them or hate them. The players that just sit there and go, well, that's what my character would do. And I know this is such a topic that I was seeing going around TikTok for a while, and that's why I grabbed it as like, yeah, but. And I know you've got strong feelings on this one, so I'll let you go first with it. What's your feeling with them?
It has its time and place. And it's a really, like, the only time to invoke a, but it's what my character would do moment to me is when you need to define your action to not justify it as you're like being a jerk, but to let the party know, oh, okay, like this is how you're like, it's the role playing thing. Like I got it. Like that's the reason you don't want to like shop with this particular merchant. Like you've got a thing against his guild. Oh, okay, I got it.
Sure. Okay, I can see
But when
that.
it's like oh, you're just gonna steal from the priest because you're a thief. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And I think most of us that have played these RPG games have run across those people. Even in my first game, like we talked about during our first session, there were a lot of people that were using my character would do it this way to justify a lot of what they were doing. And they weren't necessarily super toxic about it. Excuse me. I have encountered people that are. But these guys were more just like, yeah, but my character wants to do everything by himself, so he's going to go off and do this. Really?
There's X number of other people at the table, bro.
Right, right. And that's where things can get. But, yeah, like you said, there can be toxic people with it where it's, well, my character's going to go and kick every kitten he sees. And I'm being mild here for toxicity. Just because I don't want to describe some of the things I've heard, but
oh yeah,
some people are straight up player killers because that's what their character would do.
Right.
That's horrible. That's not the way it should be.
Or another thing that they'll do is they'll abuse the, well, it's my alignment.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, like chaotic neutral is not an excuse to be Deadpool.
Right.
Like you need to have, like it's a, like we're team. You have to be a team player to some extent. Like come on.
But anyway,
Yeah.
like you said, using your alignment or anything else in your backstory to justify this is what I'm going to go do has its time and place. If you're using it to justify horrible, evil acts, now again I will temper that because I've used that in one case that I know technically what he did was redlined. And I'll give the example. This character's name was Rune. You're never quite sure whether he's saying ruin or rune, like the symbols of power.
R-U-N-E.
Yeah. And the spelling doesn't help. It's like R-H-U-I-N-E. I purposely made it confusing. He's an ex-slave. He's a necromancer, though the party did not know he was a necromancer yet. Yeah, he's a twisted character. He wasn't evil, but sometimes an evil side of him would come out. For instance, whenever they would come across bugbears, and they were his ex-taskmasters when he was a slave. So he's got a vendetta. So have you ever seen a wizard rage before?
No, but I would love to.
He went up and started meleeing. And he could do this because he'd earlier stole a staff of shield.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So he's sitting there with mage armor on, and a staff of shield, basically rocking an 18 AC as a wizard, pummeling these guys.
Dang.
And afterwards, when he was done, he cut them up into small pieces and fed them to a captive owlbear they had, because he hated them just that much.
I mean, that's a good justification of, yeah, that's what my character would do. And when you know his backstory, you go, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
You're not doing it to be vindictive and do it. You're not doing it to every enemy. You have a particular backstory reason, and that's a good use for it.
And it wasn't toxic to the story as a whole. It
Just
surprised
the bugbears.
Right. it surprised the other players because we kept our backstories pretty much a secret. There was one other guy I told about it just because we were kind of sharing notes on stuff like this. We both are DMs as well, and it was just fascinating to share notes on characters and stuff like that. But again, it wasn't toxic to the party as a whole. Nobody was playing a bugbear, for one. The races for doing that weren't out yet, thankfully.
Yeah.
But,
and in the games I run, it's not an option.
there you go. Oh, no Gerb squared for you?
Sorry.
Anyway.
Nope.
But yeah, it wasn't toxic to the game as a whole. It wasn't derailing the story. It added a little bit more flavor to combat. So in situations like that, I would argue, absolutely do it.
Right. That's the perfect time. Yeah, I had the character that I talked about in our first episode. He had an affinity for raising undead as a holy caster to do his bidding, and then he would dispatch them. He would put them back down. He would get rid of them. And because he had the ability to do that because he was Death Domain.
Okay.
And the whole party's like, are you evil? And that's when the other cleric does detect evil on me, and it's like, he's not, he's neutral. I'm like, yes.
Well,
and then like when my powers got shifted, it unnerved the party even more, because instead of just like, oh, here's a zombie, I was putting their soul back in and making them sentient and making them do my bidding and then ripping their soul back out.
Ouch.
And the whole party's like, okay, we gotta get rid of you. I was like, are you sure? Because I'm the guy that blew the brain out of a mind flayer last session, so you might want to keep me around. And the DM loved it, and I was like unnerving the whole party, but like as players, everyone was like, oh, this is great, because like my character just innately causes drama.
Yeah, that was.
And it's like, I'm going to continue doing this because it's what my character would do, and everyone's like, ugh.
So long as the players are good with that kind of thing, I'm all for that. Now, if the whole party, players had been themselves, that's when I'd start having the conversation. If it's just the party of characters that is sitting there in game going,
yeah, that's covering their eyes.
That's the perfect balance, I think. You know, the players are all for it. Like, I got into a heated argument in game, and I had to at one point stop it and go, dude, player to player, are we okay right now? And he starts laughing his butt off because we'd both gotten so in character, we were locked on. And he just started laughing his butt off and saying, yeah, man, this is gold. I love this. Let's keep going. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I had another like this one, the exact opposite. It went too far. I was playing a mainline druid, like neutral. Got to keep the balance between law and chaos. That's my job. And we had a few chaotic players, but mostly lawful aligned, lawful good, lawful neutral, no unlawful evil. Though sometimes I wondered if the ranger was. The thief was chaotic, of course.
Well, you kind of have to be with somebody stealing.
He was chaotic good, though. It was the weirdest thief I've ever seen.
See Robin Hood?
No, but like, yeah, I mean, he could have been playing Robin Hood, but
I would argue that's a chaotic good character.
He was a bookie, and he like that was his background. And that's a different character. But me and the paladin got into it, and I was role playing. He was actually mad at me, and it got to the point where like I stopped and I was like, "Are we good?" And he's like, "No, we're not good." I was like, "Oh, then like let's
step back for a second."
I'm sorry. Like I didn't realize like I was actually offending him, And
Right.
yeah, and it almost cost the game. Like we had to like we took like a 2-3 week hiatus because we were playing every week. Might have even been a month, and then we all came back, and it was like, "Is everyone good? We're all good." It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "All right, cool." So
Yeah.
my druid still gets to keep his carnivorous ape pet. Yeah, sweet.
And that's where sometimes it can happen accidentally,
Yeah.
where you're not intending to step across those lines, but you have to stop and take the check with the other players and go, whoa, everybody, are we all
Mm,
on the same page here? Is this okay
right.
that our characters are having a beef? Because it enhances the game, I think, so much when your characters can have that room to have a beef with one another,
Right.
so long as the players are for it.
Right. And jab with each other. I mean, I've had characters that like a character I was playing and a character somebody else was playing, and like he and I could roleplay really well and we knew each other super well. We're like we asked the DM ahead of time and he was okay with it. And so we started sort of role playing our characters kind of falling in love. I was playing a female character, he was playing a male character, and we're like, let's see like how the players feel about this. And everyone was like, what is going on right now?
Yes.
And it was great. It was really great. Everyone was like okay with it, but yeah. And then it was weird role playing. Like his character died, got beheaded by a baler with a vorpal sword.
Oh no.
Yeah, so like I played my character like in mourning for like a month and a half.
Yeah. Did he pick up
Yeah.
another character that joined the game too? So it's just,
Yeah, we were playing Pathfinder at the time, so he brought in an
dude, I'm right
artificer
here.
that then died. No, he didn't like. Yeah, he didn't like play the same character,
Reincarnation.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that
Oh,
was, and that was a mess that technically my character got us into, but that's a story for another day.
yeah, but some of the horror stories I've heard out there of people
Yeah.
that are just players and DMs both that are just so set in, well, this is how I'm gonna do it because
Mm.
that's the way I wrote it, or that's the way this character is. It's just like,
Right. You got to be able to adjust. You've got to
oh,
like. You may have a cool character concept, but when it doesn't jive with the group, be ready to adjust. You've got to have that in your mind to do. I've had to do it so many times with characters where it's like I've got this idea and I didn't realize that somebody else was bringing an edgelord to the table. It's like, okay, I won't play the edgelord then. Like
yeah,
I'll let them do it. Or like whatever archetype. I just threw one out there,
yeah, sure,
Just like the rogue who's like Batman basically, and like somebody else is playing a character somewhere. It's like, okay, well I can change it up.
sure.
Um,
I'll be Robin.
yeah. So I mean, and I think it's hard to self-diagnose if you're a person that does that until you've experienced someone doing it, and then you go, "Wait, am I doing this behavior too?" Um,
Yeah, it can
and
be.
and there's a big burden on the DM to recognize that behavior and to find the best way to talk to that player to get them to stop doing it.
Sure.
Which
Eh,
that might be another topic that we can touch on, how to deal with problem players, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think it's become easier in some ways with how prolific tabletop RPGs have become online. You can
Oh
watch
yeah.
some of these things happening in other groups
Mhm.
or
And it's not even
read
just
about.
Critical Role anymore. There's so many.
Oh yeah,
There's so many.
read about it on Reddit or
Mhm.
heck, even in my Discord, things like that,
Mm.
where people talk about the players they're having problems with, and that's where you can stop again and go, am I doing any of that?
Right.
Like when this topic initially came up of, oh, that's what my character would do, and it being a toxic trait, I'm going, I play that
It-
way all the time. When,
Right,
when
but
I'm
it's
playing a
not-
character, I get into that mindset of, okay, I crafted this character this way.
Right.
How would he react to the world around him?
Mhm.
But then again, I didn't make a toxic character.
No.
I may
I
have
mean,
made
I
a
often
rogue.
make suboptimal characters.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Like I'm
love
like, what's the worst race that could be a ranger? Let's
I-
think about it.
I want to make the gnome barbarian at some point.
I've played stereotype like halfling thief. Like of course that's gonna go great.
No, sure.
But like
Let's optimize.
right. But like like so in 5th edition, doing a half-elf ranger, but having bonuses in charisma, like higher bonuses in charisma than dex, and like every player looking at my sheet going, "What the heck?" And I go, "Oh, I used to be a thug for a thieves guild." And they're like, "Oh, so why aren't you playing a thief?" I was like, "Because I was a thug. Like, I was a street man who like collect, like, hey, you
Broke
gotta
knees.
you gotta pay your dues, man.
Yeah.
You want our protection, you gotta pay your dues."
Yeah.
And like, that's why I have the high charisma. And they're like, "Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
That's why your charisma is an 18, and not your dex."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes
I hate you.
I've actually got it in a play-by post right now that I'm doing in a friend's
Those are
channel.
fun.
I have a hard time keeping up with them because they'll move so slow and then suddenly jump forward. I'm actually running one right now that I need to update tonight. But I've made a bard. Yeah, I've made a bard that he's not going to be the best in combat. Let's just be honest. For one, he's a bard. It's really my first time playing bard, so this isn't the standard DM playing bard that's way overpowered.
It just reminds me of the Gamers 2. I don't know if you've seen the Gamers 2.
I haven't seen that one. Maybe you can send it to me later.
But, it's on YouTube. I'll send it.
Okay. But I put like everything into charisma and to performance stuff where he's just outside of combat. Oh, he can silver tongue anybody.
Sure.
I think we're 3rd level at this point or something like that. Anyway, we're high enough where I've got.
Did you go lore?
No, I went eloquence. So I can't actually roll lower than a 10 on the persuasion. Plus, I have like a +8 to it. All things said.
So basically, you're gonna try to persuade your way out of every fight.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't work, you go, barbarian.
Yeah, and we have one of those. He's a minotaur.
Beat with stick.
But yeah, I don't play him as a great fighter because I've done that and I love it. But I wanted to try something different this time. Sure. Especially where I don't get to play very often as a DM.
Right. And then when everyone's mad that like, why aren't you doing anything in combat? You go, it's literally not my shtick. Like, it's what my character doesn't do.
Oh, speaking of doing things that your character would do that players hate, well, not necessarily the players hated, but other characters hate, he woke the entire party up while they were trying to be kind of stealthy out in the woods with monsters and stuff around. He woke them up with a set of bagpipes in the morning.
Nice.
I got inspiration for that, but everybody's like, dude!
Great, and now the owlbear from 4 hexes away is coming.
Pretty much.
Yep. Yeah,
they were non-appreciative.
The bard that plays a set of drums, like the ones from band, like marching band, where you got them strapped to your. It's like, aren't we supposed to be stealthing through this dungeon? Not anymore. I don't know what you wanted. Yeah.
Drums in the shallow? We're not that far down, guys.
Yeah, it's literally the first level of the dungeon, so...
Aren't they supposed to be coming from down there? Nope, they're here.
They're here. It's me.
All right, so let's go ahead and move into talking about our sponsor for the day. This broadcast is not sponsored by Dungeon Roomba. This broadcast is not sponsored by Dungeon Roomba because, well, it doesn't exist. But if it did, I could tell you that Dungeon Roomba is excellent for all of your dungeon cleaning needs. Tired of adventurers hauling their gear in and then just, well, dying unceremoniously on the floor? Get yourself a Dungeon Roomba to clean up that unsightly mess. Dungeon Roomba will automatically continuously sweep your dungeon looking for anything that it can break down, leaving your dungeon immaculately clean. Now available in traditional gelatinous cube, or for those extra hard to clean spots, check out the Black Pudding variant. Warning, Black Pudding variant may accidentally eat away part of your dungeon. And again, today's broadcast is not sponsored by Dungeon Roomba, but if it were, I'm sure they'd head on over to the merch link where you could get your very own Dungeon Roomba wear. So, funny stories. Let's see. Do you got one to start with for tonight?
Funny story, especially if I'm going to try to be on topic, an opportunity of it's what my character would do, and it's like not not optimal, but funny, and the party is okay with it. So that same druid I was talking about earlier, with that we got into the fight with the paladin.
Sure.
We were doing the Against the Giants series of modules, very famous set of modules for first edition. We get to the Hill Giants Keep, and I shape change myself into a mouse.
Okay.
Ahead of the party, sneak into the compound, find their weapons stash, change back into myself because as a mouse you can't cast spells. Cast warp wood on all of their weapons because all of them have wood shafts of some kind.
Okay.
So now they have like boomerang maces basically.
Good luck
and
fighting
like
with
pole
that.
arms that can't work at all. Shape change back into a mouse and sneak back out. And the DM gave me like a bunch of extra experience for that, like ahead of the party. Everyone's like, "What? Why?" Like, and they were so mad at me. And they didn't like, because this was an instance of passing notes, and so they were really mad. And then when they found out that like now the Giants have to fisticuffs us, which is still like a D8 of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're freaking giants.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh," and yeah, got a good laugh and a good chuckle out of that. Just if you're going to do what your character would do, I can't think of a more hilarious way than to help the party and not let them know you helped them.
That's a good way to go.
That was great. Yeah.
All right. So I got one from user Moto Kuroda. I hope I'm saying that right, on Reddit. Now they note, sorry for any mistakes. English is not my first language, so I'm paraphrasing here a little bit to try to actually make it faultless English, but it's going to be faulty. It's just me.
Yep.
So they have a barbarian orc, and they drew a picture of it here. It was pretty neat. The barbarian burst through a wall and fell off a great distance right into the subterranean lake, thrown down by a monstrous, colossal zombie hit. Everyone in the party thought they were dead from the impact, but somehow he managed to sustain the shock, and after a while, he slowly recovered. Everything was dark and still. The only ray of light was coming from above, straight on a sword buried in the stone. Sound familiar? Barbarian.
Are you the king?
Yeah, barbarian sitting here going, that's exactly what I need to cut through that giant. Uh-oh. But the sword didn't come out of its place.
Of course not.
Surprised, the orc used both hands without success. The sword seemed to be part of the world itself, and no amount of effort was enough to move it from its place. The orc's patience was already at its limit, so he pushed and pulled more until he was surpassing his limit, and something started moving. When he joined back with his party to fight against the mega zombie, he wielded the legendary sword still buried in the rock.
He pulled the rock out of the ground.
Quoting him as saying, "I like it even better in this form." The weapon went through the rotted flesh and bone of the giant monster with ease, which got reduced to pieces by the insane strikes the barbarian delivered. He's definitely not worthy to be king, but also not someone that simply accepts failure.
Oh, that is a DM that took a moment to like make a great scene and make a great like, oh, he's not the one that's supposed to have the sword, but I'll let him have the rock.
Exactly. You shall not be king, but this will be funny.
But everything else shall not have skull.
Here, hold my mead. This is going to be hilarious.
Right. Oh man, that's good.
Oh yeah, that was what I
DM
found.
gets inspiration for that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I wish there was some kind of award like that we could give out. Speaking of a character doing, or a player doing what their character would do, this one I actually have to pick on my lovely wife for, Arini, and she built this character.
I'm gonna run now.
She built this character knowing what was going to happen. We famously call it her not cleric.
Okay.
It was this poor little gal that thought she was a cleric. However, she was a wild magic sorcerer.
Beautiful.
and we had 1-to-1 all the spells over to give them an alternate off the sorcerer spell list. So like when she thought she was casting healing or lay on hands or whatever, or healing hands or something like that.
Your light wounds? Healing hand is one, yeah, I think.
So lay on hands, I think, was a cleric one. So it translated on the sorcerer spell list to burning hands. Well,
okay.
Okay, I guess cauterizing is one way to...
Good news. You're not bleeding.
Bad news. But it was a series of unfortunate events like this, which made even funnier by the fact there was an actual cleric in the party. So when they're comparing notes, why does my guiding bolt come down, but yours comes out from your finger and arcs over? Because it's a firebolt, not a guiding bolt.
It's guided.
But it was, they're both kind of looking at each other going, that's not right.
You keep using that spell. I do not think you know what it means.
The downside that I gave her from it was because she was thinking she was casting one spell, but not casting it. She's casting something else. She had to roll on the magic search table every time.
You know, I think they should. I honestly think wild sorcerers should, but
I do it more often than the book says. I think I actually don't know the official rules of when you're supposed to do it. I throw it at them in inopportune times.
Yeah, I just think it should happen. Like wild magic, like it should just happen.
And any spellcaster can cast on the or the search table if they foobar. If they get a natural one, that's usually what happens.
Oh, see, okay.
We can have that debate another time too.
Well, no, like I love it, but my new campaign that I'm writing, it's using a system where there's lots of things that happen when you roll ones, no matter who you are.
Oh, and I'm a firm believer in critical successes and critical failures because I like the balance of it. I like the chaos it brings in, both good and bad. But a prime example of that, biting her, or at least biting the group, they were in a fight around a farm, and she'd cast something, I don't exactly remember what, but the wild magic surge ended up being where anything she touched started on fire. She tried to climb up on the roof of the house, which had a thatch roof, to get a better line of sight on the enemies that were coming in. Thatch roof is now on fire.
And then no one innocent is inside.
At the end of toward the end of the battle, as they're getting the last wave, this was a wave on wave combat. I was literally sending more at them than I knew they could handle, just to see where our pain tolerance was. And I had another group on standby to come in right as they were getting overwhelmed. It was queued. It was on team. It was more like, how many rounds can you go through with this? It was zombie waves.
Nice.
But she ran in because like the real cleric was there healing somebody, but they were about to get swarmed by a group. So she ran in, stood like right on top of them, and then exploded. Or at least that's what it looked like to the rest of the group. I think it was Thunderwave. Was the spell that it ended up being. So it sent a shockwave out from her. But when she rolled on the wild magic surge table, she cast invisibility on herself at the exact same time. So to the character standing there, it looked like she just blew herself up. Right? But that's
beautiful.
Yes. But this is one of those examples. And then she's sitting there trying to talk to the party and they can't see her. They can't hear her. It was like, what is going on? Until she finally casted something and it broke the invisibility spell. But it was one of those, she just blew herself up to save us. No, I'm right here. But time and time again, things like this kept happening. And this was a prime example of a way that I think playing the way your character would do it worked so well to drive the story forward. The other players didn't know exactly what was going on, but they were for it. We hadn't told them about the not cleric part. They just saw the spells getting messed up and they're like,
what's going on? Huh.
The conversation between them as cleric to not cleric was real. Like, why is your spell doing it? Because I described them differently.
Sure.
I didn't tell them what the actual spell was, but I just described them differently, and they're like,
Like the scene from Firefly where he's like,
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yep.
And
that's beautiful.
And it was one of those times that is one of those things that I love about doing TTRPGs, where you can tell the stories like that. But again, everybody has to be on board for it.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's got to be ready for the zany. Yeah, do something like that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching and or listening wherever you are enjoying this content. If you like it and you want to see more, hit the like button if that's an option, subscribe if that's something, follow, whatever you got to do. If you want to see more of the stuff that we individually do, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on YouTube, on Twitch. We're all over the place, at Papa Zaff, and you're just at Rillian, right?
Most places. Some places I'm still Rillian_GOG because Rillian is taken by somebody in Pakistan, I believe.
Oh, nice. Quality. Yeah.
Yep.
Same for me on Instagram. I can't get mine. There's the Discord, which will be like linked and stuff, and there's merch and whatnot. Also, if you are wanting to enjoy more, it's weekly. So we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Next time on Table Talk RPG.
They feel defeated and they feel like, oh, we lost. And they don't use it as an opportunity to grow their character and to further the story.
Right.
Like, name a time where Batman isn't beaten down to the core.
Oh, sure.
And like it becomes a character defining moment. Or how many times has Superman almost died to kryptonite? Can we kill that? And then that happens, they go, nope. No, we can't. No, time to run. So I'm curious, how did they just throw it on the fire? Like,
seriously. Well, I got this pan here. Let's just toss it in.
Let's see what happens. Dance, chicken.
This is how you make popcorn chicken, right? You just keep it moving.